sitting up a little more.
Yeah. I love gazing into your eyes. In this small cubicle space.
Do I like just talk at it, or do I talk right at it, or?
No, you can talk like relative to this.
So I can look at you?
Yeah.
Kinda? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, who am I with today?
My name is Elizabeth Gruber. If you want my full name, it's Elizabeth Ann Jaqualine Sundin Gruber.
Oh my gosh. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names in that one name.
Yep. There you go.
What is it your mom's maiden name as well?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have 2 middle names?
Yes.
From being Catholic?
No, because my mom wanted inclusion of her sister's name.
And your dad wanted?
No, they just liked Elizabeth Ann.
Oh. No,
Yeah.
I know, but where's the second one come from?
Jaqualine?
Yeah, Jaqualine.
From my aunt.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because...
Oh, I see. So they liked Elizabeth Ann, and then your aunt's name is Jaqualine.
Yeah, like my mom took her brother's name and put it with one of my brother's names, and then her other brother, Tommy, is my twin, and she thought Jackie would feel bad, so then she just plugged it in there at the end.
Oh, so sweet. You want to know something I just learned?
What?
And maybe this is just biased information, but I didn't know in a wedding party, your party, like your bridesmaids or your groomsmen, are supposed to ideally first be family, and then it's supposed to spread out from there. So, like, I guess it's very common to have the siblings of your husband be in if he has sisters, or it's like an unspoken law that they're supposed to be in your bridal
I've seen
party.
that a lot, so that makes sense. I didn't know there was, like, unspoken laws or rules about it, but
yeah,
I see that a lot. So
yeah.
I don't really agree with it.
I know.
Like, I don't know if I would ever, like, have
well, let's just say,
wedding.
like, in our situation, we live all the way out in Colorado. I mean, I'm closer with you than, somebody I should have in my wedding,
Are you saying that I would be in your guys' wedding? You don't have to commit to that. That just made me, like, excited inside.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying. But, yeah. Like, I mean, right at this stage in my life. But,
okay, yeah.
but no,
I'm not, no pressure. I was just making an observation.
No, I like to fill up your cup.
Aww.
No, but I just feel like that would be, like, something that would be frowned upon, though.
I don't care.
Or do you not care? Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, the whole, like, having the father walk the bride down the aisle. No. There's no giving away here. Like, if I would actually have an official wedding, in the traditional sense, like, my partner and I would just walk down together.
Oh.
Like, what's this, like, whole moment of, like, oh my God, the bride, let's stand up.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking weird. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right? Like,
yeah.
That's very old-fashioned ideas, traditional roles. Nah.
You're right, because it's really just symbolic of giving the woman away to another man.
Yeah.
That is not the father anymore.
Ugh.
That's the history of it, right?
Ugh. Like dowry and shit.
No. So you would walk down the aisle with your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 2 people coming together
like making
in
a
union.
decision together.
Right. So my thought was that I would never just have my dad walk me down. So my thought, that makes way more sense. But I was thinking, like, who had raised you up to this moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's ever just been the father. Like, it should. I mean, I get why historically it has, because typically in the past they were breadwinners. But my thought was I would have both my mom and dad walk me
Well, that's
down.
sweet too. Yeah.
But I kind of like just walking down together, man.
Yeah.
Or maybe, but that's kind of the point of marriage, though, is that you're forming a union.
Yeah, like you're coming, like we could totally change the symbology.
Yeah.
Of like, you meet together at the back and through the crowd of everyone who supported you and is important to you.
Yes.
Helped you create this beautiful relationship, and then you create the bond. Like, I don't know, I'm not a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I don't think so anyway.
What else?
I am a nurse, and that's pretty traditional, but
I know.
for females. But
right. What else would you change about the wedding ceremony?
Uh, well, I grew up in like a dry culture.
Mm-hmm.
There definitely needs to be alcohol. I mean, that's in the generic culture.
Yeah.
But like none of this dry weddings. Like let's have a party.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What was your religion again that you raised?
Seventh-day Adventist.
Seventh-day Adventist. Okay.
Mhm.
So would they not have even allowed
No
like
dancing. Gasp.
Really?
None. That's what freaks Catholics and other religions out.
Ah,
Yeah.
but wait, why is that? Because there's always a reason.
Because it's sex standing up.
It's
Just suggestive.
Oh, if
of
women are standing
intercourse.
up. Oh.
You know, because you're like, I think it goes back to like when people are getting into, I mean, there's no drums or guitar, like electric guitars in churches.
Mm-hmm.
When the whole rock movement and everything came forward, it's, I mean, in the Bible, there are instruments and drums praising,
Right,
you know,
it's a
a
form
Lord
of worship,
being,
right?
right.
Or something. Yeah.
But, you know, putting that aside and
Mhm.
ignoring those facts that are in the Bible they take pretty literally,
Yeah.
they would say, like, no, that's like just the culture of how drums and rock and roll were like of the devil. And, you know, like you spin the record backwards and it says, like, a prayer to the devil and stuff. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, actually,
Yeah.
if you have ever ran a record backwards, sometimes there are hidden messages.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Have you done that?
I mean, no, but I mean, I have done a record backwards, but not
Yeah.
on a record that had
Right, an actual hidden message in it.
right.
Yeah.
So a lot of things like I want to say, like the AC/DC era of
Okay.
rock.
Right.
And
Well,
roll.
that was, that was 60s, right?
Classic
60s,
rock?
70s.
I would say more 70s.
It's probably 70s, you're right.
60s was like softer rock, but then it was like still blowing people's minds.
Mm-hmm. And then the birth control pill came out in 1968, I want to say.
Like officially widespread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what led to this whole revolutionary period, kind of.
Dude, it's the best.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
I
women
almost
have more
wonder-
control of their lives because they're not just
Yeah, I wonder what led up to that moment, though, you know?
birth control.
Well, just like this, I feel like presently our culture is not, like religion is not at the center anymore. I don't necessarily know what is, but I wouldn't say that it's super mainstream versus like back, religion used to be everything. That's why, I mean, that's just what everybody did, and that's like governed your community and what traditions you partook in. And then I feel like suddenly the 60s happened, and like peace, love, Vietnam, all this stuff, and
Democracy
Woodstock.
really using their power and
Yeah.
not just kind of
But I
saying-
wonder why I wonder if it was because of the war.
I would say it's a lot of things
Yeah.
combined.
Yeah.
Globalization of ideas.
Okay.
So incorporating other people's ideas
Uh-huh.
and widespread like higher education.
Yeah.
And so again, sharing of ideas. And probably stabilization, like war, a lot of like wealth and
Yeah.
resources go towards war.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have, excess to even or like a period of long war where you have excess resources to be put into education and health and research and science development, I mean, I feel like that's a big combo.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think even probably being in another country for a while was influential, and then having the time to be together with people too and not worry about this. Well, although we were still in Vietnam, so
Well,
but it was different than World War II.
definitely.
It wasn't like this home front.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where, women were like sending out care packages and knitting things, and then all the men were gone, which is actually super interesting.
Okay.
I have a fun fact for you.
Yeah.
You'll love this, actually.
I really am into crafting, so.
Well, so, actually, this will actually make you a little mad. But,
What?
so, World War II happened, right?
Yeah.
all the men went back into war, and our farming industry was greatly affected by that because they were like, oh, how are we going to have the right labor to do all of this farming? Like, women can't do that. So that led to industrialization. So let's put in these big machines to do a lot of the manual labor, and then women can just run them. And that ultimately has led to a lot of destruction of our soil. But that was one of the thought processes behind industrializing farming and things like that. Or one of the catalysts, I guess I could say.
Or maybe, I have another theory. I created it now, right now. Maybe the women were like, now we're in charge of this. Let's, make it easier and have like 100 power machine, like a machine that does as much power as 100 people.
Right.
I mean, that's just totally speculation. But look, women are smart too and stuff. So.
Right. You said something to me yesterday. I can't think about it now, though.
Was it about love?
Well, you said a phrase something along the lines of, just like I had I made a statement that was very traditional, and you were like, oh, what? Like, why do you think about it like that, or something like that? But anyways, let's talk about that a little bit. How do you, where do you think that your origins? Would you call yourself a feminist?
Oh yeah.
Where do you think your origins in that came from?
My mom.
Yeah.
I don't know if she would, if I asked her directly, would you call yourself a feminist?
Yeah.
If she would say yes, but she absolutely lives out that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have there's 6 kids in my family, but yours, mine, and ours. 3 girls, 3 boys. And my mom got married when she was 21. My dad is 75-ish, and my mom is like 69-ish.
Okay.
So I almost see them as a previous generation behind us. Or, like, they are almost old enough to, like, my mom had me when she was 40 in the 80s. Right. So, like, that's pretty cool. That was when they were, and she had twins at 40.
So what
to
year
full
was
term.
she born in?
I don't know. I have it on my phone.
What's the math here?
But it was before Title IX. It was before, like, in the women's rights movement, basically. Okay. And so she only went to college for, like, a year. Then she taught herself how to be a CPA from going to a library like this and renting books about accounting. And then she took her and passed her CPA, and then, like...
What's CPA?
Like an accountant. Like a certified...
Oh, personal accountant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I think it's personal. I don't know. I don't know what it stands for, to be honest. But then...
1951. She was born in 1951.
So around there. And, so, like, she had to wear dresses. She went to, one school... like a boarding, like an elementary school. It was like one huge room with 5 different grades. And that was her elementary experience.
Oh, where did she grow up?
Michigan.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So Midwest, Adventist, and then she went to boarding school where, again, only dresses.
Okay.
Like, women were just starting maybe to wear pants and get kicked out of, courts and public places and things. Which is crazy.
When did she become an accountant? Did she do that, like, at a university?
So she only went to school, like, for a year. I don't even know what she was studying. Right. But then she got married.
Like, post, like, college?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, no, like, she went to high school and then 1 year of college.
Okay.
Quit.
Okay.
She got married. Didn't have kids for a while, actually. I wonder if she used, like, a diaphragm or something. Like... I feel like that was the era, and I was like, that was only, like, 70% chance of prevention. Anyway, I wonder if my mom had an abortion. Now all these questions are coming up. Because, anyway, then, she taught herself how to be a CPA and worked her way through, like, worked her first husband's way through law school. Okay. Like, supporting him.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And you said she did it, she was self-taught?
Oh,
how to
yeah.
do it? Okay, so just go, that's what you're saying about the library. You should just go to the
Yeah,
library.
she would
I
just
think.
go and teach
Teach
herself
yourself.
from a book.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you ever talk to her about the hiring process of that? Like her getting.
She has told me a couple of stories
Okay.
about like women in the workplace at that time.
Yeah.
Like she told me this, like tons of sexual harassment. Like she was a looking queen. Like tall. She had people walk up to her, ask her to be a model. She told me that one time.
Oh my gosh.
And she was just very tall.
Okay.
And strong features.
Yeah.
And like Swedish, like fair, which was definitely that period, you know?
Yeah.
But she said that specifically this one time she's in a mixed office, but probably she, like, other than her, there's only like female reception kind of roles for women. And her, like, higher up manager or even a, double up manager brought her into his office for something, and she turns around and he's facing her, and he pulls out his pocket, like the pockets from his pants, and says, "Here's my elephant's ears. Want to see his trunk?" What, right?
What?
Like, and that's all she really told me, but she said that there were other stuff like that. I mean,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so wait, did you know, like, was it pretty easy for her to get hired though at this place, or did she have to start out as a receptionist and then move her way in?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer
You don't
to
know.
that. I should ask her though.
Cool. So hearing all these stories.
Why is she a like, she's a total feminist. Like, and then I am raised with a mixed family. I'm a twin, so tied for the youngest. Mm-hmm. But just with her raising me, she never had gender roles really. Like, everybody cleans the house, everybody works outside. Mm-hmm. You can be anything. Like, I could be a doctor as a woman, and so could my twin brother. Mm-hmm. Or that's probably why I was just very empowered in that I should take this opportunity to be whatever I could be, because I don't have the barriers that she had when she was growing up, because her dad literally told her that so her dad was I think a doctor in the war somewhere. Okay. He was kind of a pacifist, being in Seventh Day Adventist, from what I remember. Mm-hmm. And so he was a doctor with soldiers and different things, I think. And then when he came back, he was just a family practice. And then she, like, never had trouble with gore, like visiting, goop and bodily fluids. And she was like, I want to be a doctor because she's fucking smart. Right. And, like, the top of her classes and stuff. Right. And he's like, no, you shouldn't become a doctor. Her own father. Yeah. Says, because you're just going to quit and become a mother.
And become a mom. Yeah. Right.
And she said that he told her that she would be a waste of a seat in a medical school.
Oh, just like Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right? RBG. Yes.
So what was your, like, because I get that this is, like, one very strong voice in your life. Sure. But what, do you feel like you held on to her voice? Because, I mean, culturally, that's just not necessarily always the message. Like, did your dad send that same message? And then what about, like, you're in school? I mean, I think things are definitely changing now, but I just don't feel like I always heard the same message, even though I would say that my mom was super, like, go after whatever, dream big. And I would say even my dad was. That's kind of how I was raised, but
I don't think my dad was as loud a voice to me. My mom definitely had a bigger part in my upbringing and influence in that. He definitely, I would say, treated all the siblings similarly and empowering them that they could do anything, like, not based on gender. And school was fine. Like, I think I had a strong message. I remember things like, oh, we need some strong boys to move these tables. And we're literally in, like, 5th grade, and the girls are stronger. Right, and faster. Yeah, and, like, we hit puberty earlier than boys. And so I didn't, but I would say, a pretty outspoken child. And so I think I remember, not maybe every time, but, contradicting that. I'm like, well, we're strong. Like, we could do it too.
Right.
Especially if we're asked all the time to help move things. That's going to be like weightlifting. And so we're going to be stronger if you utilize that.
That's really cool. So do you feel like...
I also read a lot of books that were like strong female. And my sister, who's a role model from a young age, she's 10 years older than me. She's an attorney, like very outspoken and uber underdog, like, taking care of the underdog and advocate is what I'm trying to say.
Why do you feel like some women are not on board with the feminist movement? Looking at the other side of it.
Yeah, that's a good question. They probably have a lot of different reasons. I think sometimes privilege has a hand in it, or having an upbringing of, no, you should be careful, like just even to an infant level of influence of, oh, she's so beautiful, she's so kind, and then, different kind of words like he's strong and wow, he's flirting with you, and he's a 6-month-old, like,
we
just
do
like
that
that
all the time in the hospital, though. You're right.
I try to, to say pretty gender neutral, but I try to be conscious of things like that.
Yeah. There's so much in the vocabulary of it that I think really does, like, innately affect you a little bit. Yeah.
So I would say that's, like, an early influence. Other times, like, religion, if that is a big influence in people's lives, and that religion happens to be very gender specific in roles and responsibilities in relation to the world around them, and what their role in life and family and the power they have over their own life and variety of what that could look like. I feel, coming from my religious background, Adventists, there's kind of different levels, like every religion. There's more conservative, and I would say traditionally more gender-based, to, I go to church and pray possibly before meals, but in other senses I kind of am pretty mainstream. But I definitely felt, because I identify as an atheist, and in that I mean I don't believe there's a God, or that influence in any way, has a plan for me, or a supernatural being that created things in a certain way, and so with that, I felt that was empowering to me. And I have really close friends who kind of feel the opposite, where they were not raised in religion, and then they feel empowered to live. So, like, that's great. I really, I mean, I don't hold that against anyone just because they identify in a certain way. It's like, does it make your life better? And are you a fuller human and more yourself? And so I had the opposite experience, though, of, like, when I feel like I shed that, it's like, wow, I can do whatever the fuck I want and feel empowered, and that was just really powerful.
Yeah, isn't it funny? I think that's interesting how different messages, like, affect people in different ways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, just that simple. Like, I feel like the protection of God affects people differently, like, profoundly.
Oh, yeah, like guilty,
like,
or
like,
the opposite.
Set me free. Yeah. Like, I have a path now. Oh, I can live my life. Or, oh my gosh, I'm in a cage and I'm on this. Like, I have no power over my life. It really just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
When I think back about how I was raised and things like that, I feel like there was one word that was used a lot with me. Not a lot, but maybe it, like, was the most influential in the journey that I've taken. Do you feel like there was an adjective that was used on you as a girl that maybe...
In my relationship to religion?
No, just, like, in general, to, like, the decisions that you've made in your life. Like, choosing to move to Colorado and choosing to go after being, like, a pro mountain biker, or, like, racing, choosing to these decisions that maybe other people wouldn't have made. Okay, sorry. Am I being confusing?
Well, give your thing and maybe I'll have
maybe
like
that's what I'm basing it off
a
of.
springboard.
So, yeah. So my word was the be careful. I was told that all the time, you know, and I
Fuck.
and I don't think it more just resonated with me because I don't think I'm naturally a very, like, it's not, I don't know if this is nature versus nurture, but like me, I'm not careful. I'm brave. Like, that's who I am since I was born. And I think when people told me to be careful, it really pissed me off almost a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it made me almost want to even go the extra mile to not be careful. So,
Good for you.
but I like have this, like, you know, like that was almost like an innate catalyst for like turning down the job in Michigan and saying, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. You know, buying a van and just or buying a car and just driving out here, or like with the whole van thing, like, oh, be careful. You know, someone could attack you, which is a realistic fear, but you're going to get attacked on any day, and like, you can't live your life, you know. So like, I just feel like there's a lot of decisions that I've made that word, like, specifically as a female and as it's a tied to my gender, has influenced my decisions, I guess.
I mean, I feel like this is tying back to your question of like, why do you think women aren't on board with the feminist movement, which would be kind of like going along the lines of how you, who are in line with the feminist movement, feel like you can make these, you know, independent without a man taking care of you, kind of thing. And that you actually had, you know, used that to spring into action kind of word because you didn't align with it. I definitely have heard that growing up and hear it all the time, you specifically with girls, and not as much with boys.
Right. And that's, I think, the big difference. I don't think had I been a boy growing up, I would have heard it in the same way.
Right. And
with the decisions that I was choosing to make.
I feel, so I have 5 siblings, and I really think since and my twin brother's like over a foot taller than me, and so it's almost like I am the smallest or youngest just because of stature, and that there's like an age gap of the older siblings and then 2 boys and me, and so I don't know, I think there was some kind of, there's just unavoidable, you can't be so totally independent from your culture around you, and so if I was the little girl, I was probably treated differently. I mean, I'm sure I was, but I have also seen with especially my friends and peers who are starting to have kids, how they talk about them and, oh, we're so lucky to have a girl and sweetheart, and I see that everywhere. I don't think it necessarily, like, I don't think that was the only word. I think I was just going against, but I can relate to what you're saying because I think I definitely was going, like, I'm not going to be like that. Like, I'm not going to follow what is the traditional role. And kind of like, I remember in elementary school reading these books of all the women who were pretending to be knights. I remember, like, this whole series that I was in love with was this girl was a knight, but she cut her hair and was pretending to be a boy because it wasn't allowed any other way. And kind of that theme. But going back to what I was saying with my family, I had a twin brother who was, you know, not a girl. It was a boy. And we were the same age and were raised up in a similar scenario. And it was kind of very clear to me that that wasn't true, that boys were better outdoors and stronger. My twin, I mean, I love him, and he's bigger and stronger and has, like, a bear belly, like a just huge chest and everything. Yeah. But I have always been the braver one.
Yeah.
Like, I, like a toddler, can barely walk, really remember reaching down into this bucket of bullfrogs, like, that were as big as my head, and wanting to pick them up and not being afraid and grabbing snakes and lizards and spiders and being really interested in the outdoors and getting dirty. And my mom has this picture of me in like this church dress that's all friffy and stuff, and I'm literally sitting in a giant mud puddle with mud on my face. I'm probably eating it. And my twin brother wasn't like that. Like
No.
he would be repulsed by that.
I love that story.
And so I had just a very clear impression that, like,
so here you are in the situation where you're a twin, literally starting out life at the same exact time but opposite gender, and these messages that you're hearing are not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very clear.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
It got dark out. Sorry.
I forgot to tell you that, doesn't it?
Okay. But I want to hear about why you think, some women aren't aligned with feminist movement.
Well, I kind of think it's going back to that. I think it's all your perspective on the movement itself. Yeah. And I love what you said about how much of how you were raised goes into it. Because I really think at the end of the day, that's everything. Mm-hmm. And privilege, like you said. So I don't know. I just think it's really perspective. I think that once you talk to most people, we kind of find similar ground, which makes me really excited. And I don't know if it's just like the women that I surround myself with or like the media that I watch. I definitely don't see that barrier like maybe in the past it was. Like I see women building vans. I see women doing the electrical work and men doing the pillows. Like there's just like, but that's also the media that I surround myself with. So
it's very still
the
alive.
Women,
like Trump is our president.
True. Women that would say that
and women
they're
voted
not
for
feminists, him. I would say the life that they're in doesn't need feminism.
Or they don't see the need for it.
Right. So.
Well, it's funny. So that reminds me of, like you're saying, the media. Uh-huh. So on Facebook, I actually follow the Gazette, Colorado Springs Gazette.
Yeah.
So it's the local newspaper, and it does, being in Colorado Springs has a more conservative Republican audience, right?
Yeah.
And probably writers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will just be a pretty, generic post about the Women's March that was in downtown Springs just earlier this month.
Oh.
And so, and it was led by Indigenous women from the area, which is really cool because Colorado Springs has a really strong Native American history. Mm-hmm. And it was just a bit about what happened and why we did it and what the, purpose of it was, the march itself in downtown. And the comments, some of them are from women in our community.
Yeah.
And it says, like, why are women doing this? Like,
right.
I am a single mom, and so they are feminists if they knew, like, kind of what we were even talking about. But if through the lens.
It's the perspective, man. Yeah.
Is, like, I'm a single mom, and I never had a handout at all, and yada, yada. And so, like, women are so strong in the U.S., so this doesn't even matter. I'm like, but you don't even know,
like that march is.
You couldn't have done this 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, have been who you are.
Right.
You are on the shoulders of those feminists.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I just think, too, though, and maybe this could bring us into another topic about how you feel as an equal and an independent and all of these things. In the dating culture, how does that feel for you? Like, with feminine and masculine roles? Because I would say that's maybe the one part, and I haven't really thought about this or analyzed why it is why I feel this way, but I feel like that's the one area where I still like to see division. And
like that he pays on the first date, or like what division?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like chivalry.
Okay.
I think that I still appreciate chivalry.
That's okay.
But I don't know necessarily, and I don't want either the message of feminism to be like, yes, we are fighting for independence and equality and all these things, but I still think that regardless of whether you're female or male, certain people are better at different things, right? So I think that I have skills that some men don't, and I think men have skills that some, or not men, I'm not trying to generalize. People. You know, and I don't want to lose that message in the feminist moment, and maybe
Sure.
that is what some women, or when like I talk to my dad about it, that's something that he'll bring up. So I can see that side of it is like, you know, we don't want to be so equal that we don't celebrate the different talents that each of us as individuals have, but we need to recognize that we're still individuals. It's not a gender-based skill, I guess, is what the movement for me is moving towards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going to what you first were saying about dating.
Yeah.
And chivalry.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, I can see why people do kind of adapt to it, and that it is still alive and thriving, because dating is awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you like kind of like someone, or you don't even know if you like them, and you don't know how to act around them, it's kind of nice to have a script.
Oh, you're right.
So that's
in a way
what
of
I'm
showing
thinking.
Somebody that you do like them without
like
having to outwardly say it.
Like the flowers. And if I sent a guy flowers, he wouldn't know what to do with it. Maybe he loves flowers, but it wouldn't be a traditional way of like if I sent him like cookies or chocolate or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and we're coming up on Valentine's, and so like that's a whole nother
or
dynamic.
like, so what do you feel like are the ways that men? Because I feel like actually that's funny. This is so fun.
But like I really want my boyfriend Maddie to make me dinner.
Yeah.
Like, and it'd be delicious.
Yeah.
From start to end. And like I have done that for him.
Yeah.
And like and he's like not that great at, he hasn't developed skills with that. And he says I'm a better cook. I'm like, there's nothing holding you back from learning these skills, except that you don't think that you're a good cook. Right. And, you know, having
which
investment
is fine, but acknowledge that. Yeah. You know, the barrier is yourself. It's not like that you couldn't do it. Yeah.
But like I like getting flowers, and I like getting notes, but so does he. Right. And so I would say that I'm not super on board with chivalry. Right. I think that all people should show respect. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, a little while ago I went to Missouri, drove from Colorado to Missouri, and every state line, when we got gas, it was noticeably more chivalrous, because you're from the Midwest. Yeah. And so maybe that has a more flavor that you relate to, but it was like shocking to me, because I'm walking in to go pee or get a candy bar or something in the gas station, and I'm like far from the door. Right. But this guy literally stands there and waits that awkward length of time to open the door for me. Right. And so it's just a gesture towards like I respect women. Right. But the thing is like I don't like having that narrow of a lens and of options to show respect. Like show respect to women by voting for them. Mm-hmm. Show respect to women by like washing the dishes and cooking dinner and doing household chores, because it's not their job. Right. And so I like that it is an easy way and accepted and recognized. But also there's like way more ways, and each relationship I think should show that.
Yeah, I think that's it, literally. I think it's a comfortable traditional script that we're used to without having to, you know, when you're in those uncomfortable first moments, or, you know, even like just giving gifts and receiving gifts can make people feel uncomfortable, because it's not something that we do often. So I feel like actually that's a lot more of what it is. Because it's funny that we were talking about this, because I asked Austin before I left Grand Rapids.
Okay, I thought he was here.
I was like, would you want me to get you some flowers for Valentine's Day?
Yes.
And he thought about
Maddie
it
really
for a minute.
likes succulents. If I got him succulents, he would love it.
And this is what he said. He said, I think that I would rather prefer a potted plant. And I was like, I think I would too. But like, it's just like that we haven't, you know, now we're at this point in a relationship where we don't have necessarily those awkward moments anymore. So we can actually talk about how we like to have affection shown to us. So
yeah. And I told Maddie that I wanted flowers.
Yeah.
Because
they are nice.
Yeah. Well, and like I feel like we're still in our first year. Like you guys have known each other for a long time. Right. And so like some assumptions might still be hanging out, like
Right.
definitely are rather, and
Yeah.
so I just didn't want like Valentine's to be a big deal or him to overthink it
Yeah.
and stuff. So I just like I want flowers,
Yeah.
but like it could be in a pot, like that'd be great. But
Right.
I also have a lot of potted plants, so I don't need any more.
I know, I love your succulent. Have you guys talked at all about love languages?
Not like specifically like now we're talking about love languages,
Yeah.
but we definitely have nodded to that idea.
Yeah.
And I can read into things he says. I can like, oh, identify that as touch or words of affirmation. I can tell those are both really important to us.
Yeah.
Like, he likes hearing that, and I can tell, and that's how he supports me, and I'm just fortunate to that be, I would say, a love language of mine.
So, like, do you feel like you have similar love languages then?
Yes.
Okay.
But I definitely am more forward of communication and kind of opening up and wanting to communicate and connect. And he, I
wonder
think,
if yours
is a little more protective of himself. In that way.
Well, I wonder if yours is also quality time.
I mean, yeah. I feel like I like it all.
I like small gifts too.
I mean, like this loves me.
What's the fifth one? I can't even remember. We've named them like all.
Okay.
Touch, words of affirmation, quality time, like gifts.
Acts of love.
Okay, and then
so,
acts.
Like actions.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I'm not like my favorite color is the rainbow. You know, like it's not just pink or whatever.
Right.
Like I think, well, that's what's so, I think the love language pattern is maybe for a generation a little older than us.
Okay.
Because maybe a little more traditional.
Uh-huh.
Because I really see that. And I like how they broadened it to family members and children.
Yes.
I don't know if you've looked into those.
Yeah.
Because
you can pick it out in your kid.
Exactly.
As well.
And so I've read some articles about that, and that's really cool. But
I notice it too in my parents though too. I think, and I notice it in my sister. I can kind of tell. Well, anyways, I just think it's something interesting to be aware of. Like if you know the categories at least, because what happens a lot of times is you show love in the way that you like to receive love, but that's not necessarily how the other person likes to be shown
beautiful
love.
Idea.
So, and then I think that oftentimes you're like doing these things, but the other person isn't recognizing it, and it leads to these hurtful feelings. But it's because you probably haven't looked into like what does this person actually like, and usually it's pretty obvious. Like my dad is definitely acts of kindness. Like he does that all the time. Yeah.
And specifically my dad, like he cannot show love in certain ways. He just can't.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to communicate, which I'm really big fan of, obviously.
Yeah.
And like I talked to him on the phone, he asked me about work, he asked me about my car.
Yeah.
And like recently he's been asking when I'm going to get married, but he does that always when I'm in a serious relationship. And I'm like, Dad, you need to stop asking me that. I literally texted him that the other day because he's like, in text form, when are you guys making this permanent?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my topic. He like provides.
Yeah.
But he can't do anything else. He just can't.
Right.
And my siblings and even my mom say, like, when he says stuff like, oh, when are you settling down and blah, 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 that's really him wanting to get to a place in his life where his loved one and kids that he cares for
have made it,
have settled and safe and are going to be taken care of.
And
so
it gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
But I hate that answer.
I know.
I just want you to
connect.
Like everyone else can adapt except you.
Right.
To like, and everyone does and is.
Right. But I think it's beautiful at least that you've come to that realization, because I just feel like it's it can be healing though, versus being like, why can't you just
Mm-hmm.
act
Yeah.
this way?
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least you've understood a little bit about it. Like,
Yeah.
not saying that it's easy. It's
Uh-huh.
not easy for anybody, but
I just heard a friend, like my friend James recently told me that, well, he refers to that incapability of that generation of males specifically,
yeah.
traditionally, that they're emotionally constipated. Just like think more about it. And it's like
Emotionally
they can't
constipated.
get it out.
You're so right.
Well, I mean, I'm borrowing it from James, but like I've been
Yes.
thinking about that, and I'm like, I
Oh
want to
my
say it as often
gosh.
as I can because I love it so much.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, oh, this is funny. So this is something that Austin and I have been dealing with.
Oh.
Not dealing with,
Ooh.
but
No.
he, you know, we've been in long distance for a very long time now. And I never don't feel loved by, like, he makes sure to send really sweet messages throughout the day and before I fall asleep, and puts in the time to make phone calls and things like that. But it was funny we talked about this at this past weekend. I was kind of expecting that same treatment, but in person. And then later talking to him about it, you know, I didn't really know it was bothering me until I processed it.
Totally.
But I realized that's the kind of treatment I'm used to from him. And like, he just wasn't able to get it out, like, verbally in the moment. And I think that he's gotten used to this other form of emotional release because this is the type of relationship we've had for so long now.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. This will be a new.
Were you guys able to talk about it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then, like, what did he say? Did he say that? Like,
Well,
he wasn't able to, like, let it out in
yeah.
that
Yeah,
media?
in that, yeah. And he always says it's hard for me to put it into words, like, in the, you know, when we're right in there in that moment. Like,
Okay.
So, and which I can understand, and that's, you know.
Interesting.
But I also feel like it's situational in that he hasn't had to, you know, because we haven't been together. So it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell he wants to, but he's literally, like, constipated almost.
They just
so
need
sweet.
to, like,
He's
explode
so
a little
sweet.
bit.
Yeah, let the diarrhea run.
I just had a patient that had constipation, so it's like fresh.
How do you feel like Maddie handles that kind of stuff? Like, or his emotions, I guess.
He is actually really, really good at it when he does it.
Right.
Or, like, communicates things that are harder topics.
Mm-hmm.
Topics like, where is our relationship going? Or these are some struggles that I've had in my past. Stuff like that. He's so good at when he talks about it. Like, so thoughtful. And, like, the other day, I was giving him some feedback about how I was just looking for some support. We talked about this. And he, like, wanted to fix it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had talked to him about, well, I was really looking for support. And that was actually really hurtful that you snapped, kind of saying, like, I needed to stop worrying about it kind of deal. But then he totally got it, you know, was not defensive. He has been defensive a little bit, but I want to say that since we've been getting to know each other more, he has, you know, come to the realization, like, we're on the same team.
Right.
I'm not going to judge you on things. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, not only do I want to know, like, I want you to tell me. And, I just love how fun he is and willing to easily say things that are really affectionate and thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's so lucky.
Like, sometimes, like, I remember one time I got a text from him saying, like, oh, I can't, and it was kind of the end of the day. We always talk on the phone when I'm driving home from work.
Yeah.
Which is about 8 p.m.
after
nursing, and he's usually back at his house. And, you know, after we had talked, he texted me saying, I just can't wait until we live together and we can just come home and snuggle with you. I can come home and snuggle with you and our dog. Like, he just says stuff like that, or similar to that.
Right.
And so that says a lot.
Right.
If you can say that. And so I
Yeah,
can
I
use
think
those to broaden into more of the things that I'm wondering about.
Right.
When you said this.
Yeah. It's almost like for men, which is historically like it's an act of being vulnerable when you're going to talk about your emotions, and that's
Everyone's vulnerable and has insecurities. It's just
right.
that if
And
we
that's
talk
part
about
of
them or not.
that's part of the feminist movement as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're equal in that you're okay to be vulnerable with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good. All right. Well, do you want to be vulnerable about any other things?
I'm usually pretty okay. I think maybe it's because I had a stable childhood, and
Yeah.
I mean, I've had hurts and things, and
Yeah.
I definitely have probably some baggage.
Right.
You know, that's an easy way to put it, but
Yeah.
I can usually be vulnerable
Right.
pretty easily.
I think that we might be similar in that we like to figure out why things are the way that they are, or why
Totally.
that people respond the way that they are, because otherwise, I don't know if you're this way, but I'm a little bit sensitive, I would say,
Okay.
just a little bit. But and for me to not be sensitive and to not feel like whatever, it helps me to understand people better. Because
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe that the world is. I like to believe that most of the world is good,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my perspective on a situation that's wrong, right?
Yeah. One thing that you're inspiring me, and even through this podcast, is how you want to have those hard conversations and figure it out.
Right.
And I really love that too. You're just doing it in a very visible way and challenging people with that. And something like recording and everything. It's not even just conversations. It's a production, and that's really cool. That makes me think about how, I don't know, I feel that how I was raised, I was just not made to be smaller. And in what I mean by that is you have to be quiet, and you have to raise your hand, and you have to, like I said earlier, was an outspoken child.
Yeah.
And so I think outspoken people in general are rewarded in the culture in the United States. So that definitely, because I have that personality, I think that was, over and over pretty much rewarded. And so, I mean, except now when I'm considered a troublemaker at work or something, because I try to have too much fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, kill me or something. What the heck do you want from me? It's almost like I don't understand. I was like, I'm like the dog who jumps up on when you get home every day, and
Right.
This was fine before.
Yeah.
That's not compute. And so and then I get frustrated when people don't want to talk. And I'm like, what is it?
Yeah.
Why? And then
Right.
that's puts people even harder on the brakes.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that I've learned in a more professional sense, that when people are ready and feel safe,
Yeah.
that they will.
Right.
And that's going to
The
be
timing
way
of it.
more effective
Yep.
than them being forced to
Right.
communicate or be vulnerable.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it's also not only rewarded, but if you were punished for being vulnerable, like where you really hurt and where you expressed vulnerability and not accepted. Acceptance, I feel for the most part, I have the privilege of being accepted most of my life.
Yeah.
And so if you think that you won't be accepted,
right, you're not going to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It just makes me think about how complicated raising kids is going to be, you know?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
all these things just play into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll have kids.
I know, but or regardless in our capacity with children every day.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I feel like kids in our workplace have taught me a lot with
Oh, yeah.
because they're so unapologetically vulnerable. Literally. my friend Alyssa told me the story last night And I was like, that literally just sums up a kid, like my favorite part about a kid. So she's working as a ski instructor on June Mountain out in California, and she had this kid ask her something along the lines, I'm gonna butcher this, but like something, an uncomfortable question, or like something she didn't have an answer to.
Sure.
And so she decided to just stare at the kid, like versus like coming up with an uncomfortable answer or feeling awkward about it. And the kid just kind of stared back at her and then like walked away. And the moment was over, and he was like, well, I guess she didn't have an answer to that question. I'm moving on. You know?
Yes.
I was like, yes, that's all life is.
Well, and that should be a comfort to your stress that you spoke about. Oh, raising kids is going to be so complicated.
Right.
I'm like, I mean, it is, and
well, and I think what she did beautifully in that moment was just sit there, you know, versus like making a kid feel ashamed for asking the question, making a kid feel stupid, falsely putting a positive image on the question they asked, you know, whatever.
So curious
just
what the question was now.
I know.
So,
yeah.
I feel like I would totally have kids if my partner wanted, but I feel like being 30, I have like only a little amount of time.
Right.
And so if it doesn't fall, you know, that won't happen. But when I think about having kids, I think it would just be fun, you know, and stressful and tiring, and I really need my sleep.
Right, me
and
too.
That would suck to not get that.
Yeah.
But maybe I would be blessed with a child who really wanted sleep too.
Right.
Like that's how I was as a kid. So I don't know. Maybe it would be the opposite, and I'd be terrorized. But going to national parks, just taking them with you on your van trips. I mean, I have really great friends who just take their kids all over Europe and Scandinavia and to races. And honestly, it's really cool. I can tell I'm getting older. But so maybe like one generation before us, mountain biking that was the only time mountain biking was even a thing.
Yeah.
And so... But a few days ago, Maddie and I went mountain biking, and we're on this climb, and Maddie and I are both kind of out of shape because we've been drinking lots of beers and going to concerts and having fun. But, no, you know, it's wintertime, and I'm not focused on racing this year, really. But so we're doing this climb, and it's just a slog climb. You just climb for like 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Pedaling. And these two girls who look like they're in high school, like maybe 15, 16, pass us going fast and talking.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
So they are likely in, you know, high school league or like that was never existed when I was a teenager.
Right.
I mean, I only discovered mountain bikes when I was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't have been fit enough to be slamming up this hill
while
you're talking casually to someone.
Right.
And, let alone another girl. When I was the only girl in my, you know, of anyone I ever knew at my age as a teenager interested. And so it was me and the guys.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, that's just what I was kind of used to. But that is cool.
Yeah.
Like, what that means is that both of their parents were either in a community or they themselves got a kid, like, when they were 3 to, you know, preschool to young school age on a mountain bike, and they loved it, and now they're fit enough to scream up a hill talking casually.
Right.
So that's kind of what I think about having a kid. Like, they're just going to be rad.
Yeah.
They're going to maybe be into art or, like, video games, and that's going to be lame for me because I don't like video games. But, like, as long as I get outside, I'll be happy.
Right.
Or I would be happy.
Right. But I think it's like this, like at our most basics, we are part of the animal kingdom.
Sure.
And I think it's this feeling that have the ability to create another human being that's going to blow this world up, hopefully, in a positive way.
I think your kids will.
I think your kids will, if you choose to do it.
Yeah.
But, like, regardless, like, I also acknowledge, though, that selfish, innate animal kingdom part of me and recognize that our population is at 7.5 billion and our Earth cannot tolerate this growing population that we're in. So, like, because I don't know that some other, of my friends, they are considering about not having children for that reason, because we don't know what the world's like going to be tomorrow. So, yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. We'll listen back to this in 20 years and be like, wow, we made some bomb-ass kids, or man, we supported the world.
I love the planet, or I help contribute to the destruction. But we have super dope kids. Maybe cure cancer or not. Or,
who knows?
Maybe they just have a really cool podcast of themselves.
Right.
And that goes to like 2 people removed from them, and that's it. But they have fun and like being themselves.
Right. All right, I gotta take off my BioLife wrap.
Did you give blood today?
I did. Well, plasma.
Oh my god.
No, you get paid for it. It's not
How much did you get paid?
$50.
Shit, I should go do that.
Yeah.
I've given blood and then I felt like I was at
Gonna pass out.
15,000 feet for like a month.
Oh yeah, me too. Do you have low blood pressure?
Oh yeah.
Me too.
It's like 70 over 50.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think I can. Every time I feel like I'm almost about to pass out. I'd love to give blood. I mean, it helps people all the time. Yeah.
But I have like the most common one, so I feel like less guilty that like just everybody has it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being on the pod, Liz Gruber.
Yes, that's me. And Hannah, who's the best ever. And she told me yesterday that she always wants me in her life, and that was like the best thing ever, because that's all I want.
I do. All right. Find someone to put into your life and keep them there.
Yeah.
Very good.